My friend, I call you my friend because you give me a few minutes of your time. I also consider, if you're a Jew, I also consider you my relative, a member of our Jewish people. Before you start dancing, and that's what I want to say, with a scroll of Torah, this coming Simchat Torah, I want you to recall a few things from our not that long ago past. 4 years ago, if you remember, on Lag BaOmer, a celebration turned into a catastrophe at Mount Meron. 45 Jews were crushed to death in stampede. 45 funerals. Dozens of Jewish homes torn open by grief. And what explanation was offered by our rabbis? A very famous rabbi, Rabbi Kanievsky, of blessed memory to some, declared, "It is a punishment from heaven because our women are not modest enough." Think about that. 45 men dead, and the blame is put on Jewish women, their hair and skirts. 2 years later, on Simchat Torah, which was that year on October 7, we experienced the bloodiest day in Jewish history since the Holocaust. More than 1,200 Israelis, men, women, children, were slaughtered at a music festival in their homes, in their beds, on the roads. A day of horror. What would Kanievsky have said about that had he lived? Would he once again blame immodesty of our women? Would he dare claim that God's wrath was provoked by mothers and daughters while the killers from Gaza pulled the triggers and swung the knives? And here's where we must ask ourselves, what kind of a Torah are we dancing with? What kind of religious leadership dares to claim that they know what God is upset about, that God was upset with Jewish women who in fact brought on this disaster? Such claims are heard not only in our times. Long ago, another rabbi, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the guy who commended his death to be celebrated on Lag BaOmer with drinking and dancing on his grave at Mount Meron. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai placed the words in God's mouth that have poisoned Jewish life for 2 millennia. In Talmud, Kiddushin 68b, he is cited as saying, "Your child from a Jewish woman is called yours, but your child from a non-Jewish woman, we don't call yours." The single rabbinic line erased fathers from their children, created millions of halachic orphans, and turned Jewish women into whores when they bore children with non-Jews, as it says in Talmud Yevamot 92a. Out of this teaching grew a halakhic system which wraps itself in the scrolls of Torah and brands mothers as whores while depriving fathers of their rights to their children under the Jewish law. Those who do not want to know any of it and will dance with scrolls, seeing nothing wrong with a tradition which blames skirts for a stampede and which brands millions of Jewish children as orphans, denying them the right to call themselves Jews, disgusts me. That is why the Simchat Torah, I want you to ask yourself, what Torah are you celebrating? What Torah are you dancing with? Is it the Torah of Moses, who heard God say, "You shall not wrong any widow or orphan"? Or is it the Torah of men who manufacture orphans and call their mothers whores? So before you go to pray, drink and dance, open the book of Torah, Exodus 22, verse 22. Read, "You shall not abuse a widow or orphan. If you do abuse them and they cry out to me, I will surely hear their cry. My anger shall blaze, and I will kill you with the sword. And your wives shall become widows, and your children orphans." Read it carefully. Do you hear the divine rage? God identifies with the powerless, with the widow and the orphan. Yet rabbinic Judaism, as it came to us, not only does not protect the orphans, it manufactures them. It does not shield the widows, it brands them zonot, whores. This rabbinic invention, shaped by the desire for tight control and legitimate fear of assimilation, was perhaps borrowed from the slave codes of ancient Rome and Greece, where children of foreign women or slaves inherited their mother's status and were not considered to be children of their biological fathers. Rabbinic law adopted that cruel rule and applied it to free Jewish fathers, making their children fatherless. The main excuse that the defenders of Halakhah offer is this: the mother is closest to her child. In my case, it was absolutely the case. I was closer to my mother by far than to my father. However, this has nothing to do with our relationship with God. If it did, God would not have established his covenant with Abraham. He would have established his covenant with Sarah. He would not have directed his Torah largely to men, males, or make men to be the main inheritors and transmitters of the covenant. He would not have instructed the passing of the right to the land of Israel to be passed from fathers to sons, with passing to daughters only when there are no sons. Other societies, these defenders of Halakhah will also say, have illegitimate children too, and those children are denied inheritance as well. It is cruel, but it has existed everywhere. True, yet I know of no other system except Jewish Halakhah and the laws of slave societies that erases paternity itself at birth. Not simply illegitimate child, but he is not his child at all. In ancient Greece, Rome, and even in the southern states of the United States, before emancipation, the child of a slave mother acquired her status, regardless who his father was. As a slave, he was not considered to have a father. That was evil. But even those systems allowed such thing as adoption. A biological father could step in and legally claim child as his own, regardless of his mother's status. But not rabbinic Judaism. It has no room for adoption. Why? Because it would weaken rabbinic power. The rabbis want to hold the keys to Jewish identity, so they locked the doors and destroyed the families. It's not only unjust, it is disgusting and goes completely against the Torah which I celebrate. In my Torah, Abraham begat Isaac, and no one asked Sarah to show her birth or conversion certificates. Jacob's 12 sons, born to 2 non-Jewish sisters, something disgusting, but which Torah allowed at that time, and to 2 slave girls, were all counted as Israel, as the founding fathers of 12 tribes. The youngest of his sons, Joseph, marries Asenath, daughter of highest pagan priest in ancient Egypt. Their sons, Menashe and Ephraim, were blessed by Jacob as full tribes of Israel. We continue this tradition of blessing our boys using the names of these 2 sons, whose mother was a daughter of a pagan priest. Moses' children were born to non-Jewish Tzipporah, who was Midianite. The fact that Moses recognized her as his wife was sufficient to make her part of Israel. No one demanded her to show conversion papers. The great-grandmother of King David, Ruth, the Moabite, never called Jew in that book, Moabite. She was prohibited by Torah from joining the Jewish nation. According to Halakhah, she converted, although there's no indication of it, but still was zonah. However, according to our God, she became the mother of Jewish kings. Today, King David would be rejected by the rabbinate of Israel as someone who could not sufficiently demonstrate that his mother was a Jew. As a result, he would not be able to marry in Israel, could not be called to Torah, could not be buried as a Jew. Yet, despite the rabbinate, our God crowned him to be our people's eternal king. The Hebrew Bible is very clear. A child of a Jewish father is 100% Jewish. The rabbis, however, firmly disagree. So the question is, whom do you believe? Torah, Moses, David, or Shimon Bar Yochai and his followers? And this is not just some trivial question, not a theological test for yeshiva boys. This issue has a profound bearing on the future of our people as it destroys millions of lives. Take, for example, Jessica Fishman, who was raised in a conservative Jewish home in America, kept kosher, went to day school, walked to synagogue, made aliyah, served in IDF. And then, when she fell in love and sought to marry in Israel, the rabbinate discovered her mother had a Reform conversion. She refused to convert, broke the engagement, left Israel, and ceased all observance of our traditions. A vast majority of such Jessicas leave Judaism altogether and become Christians. How many more? How many sons and daughters of Jewish fathers will be told, "You are not one of us"? How many mothers will be insulted as whores? How many families will be torn apart because of halakhic ruling that mocks both Torah and life? But this halakha is not simply cruel. It is blasphemous. Torah warns, harm the widow and orphan, and God's anger will blaze forth. Do we think that it means nothing? That we're exempt? I'm not Rabbi Kanievsky, and I don't speak for God. I don't know the reasons behind what I myself can detect or understand. But I do believe in God who gave us Torah, and my heart rebels against the Torah which creates orphans in the name of God. So this Simchat Torah, go and dance with Torah. But ask yourself, do I dance with the Torah of Shimon Bar Yochai, a scroll that condemns my Jewish brothers and sisters, a scroll that celebrates death? Remember to do it. And if you do, repent. Make teshuvah and return to the Torah of Moses, the Torah of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph, Ruth, and David. Repent so you can dance with the Torah of life, not with the Torah of death. Repent of a tradition that makes orphans and widows, that insults mothers, that calls children of loving them fathers fatherless. We must restore the Torah of justice, the Torah of God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So this Simchat Torah, let us say clearly, every child of even one Jewish parent, not speaking, of course, of somebody who accepted Torah as a grown-up already, even he was not born to any Jewish parent, is an integral part of Am Israel, of Jewish people, an integral part of my people. Torah does not make orphans at birth. It does not call their mothers whores. If you do this, then the Torah you dance with will be Torah of life. If you refuse, then you are not dancing with the Torah of Moses, but with a scroll of shame. Choose life. Dance with the Torah of Moses.